Now her brother was one of my best friends.
All right, we're live.
We're live? Mm-hmm. Oh man, another great day. It must rain, like we talked about rain last week. It rained again this Saturday. But I just want to start this off by shouting out my brother Andre Farrell and the Catmint Learning Initiative. So this past Saturday, I worked with the Catmint Learning Initiative on a block party on Quincy between Marcus Garvey and Lewis. We brought out Ja Rule, Special Ed, Remy Ma, and Kerry Hilson, and others. Where there were other acts. There was shout to Diego Fresh, Santuario. There was other acts. It was an amazing concert for the block that was to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Catmint Learning Initiative. It was one of the flattest things I've done this year. Being on stage with Ja Rule, being on stage with Remy, these are like bucket list moments. So thank you to Andre, thank you to Don Poole, thank you to Dave Thomas, thank you to everybody that made that possible. And then we went from the concert to my brother Edwin Raymond. So Edwin Raymond is, what's his title? He's Chief of Community Affairs, Head of Community Affairs?
Commanding Officer of Community Affairs, Brooklyn North. Commanding
Officer of Community Affairs, Borough North. A brother that I met some time ago when we were working on the Kaepernick piece. He has a book called An Inconvenient Cop, and he did a performative kind of book launch on Saturday night. Malik Yoba hosted. There were skits that kind of speak to some of the things that Edwin discusses in the book. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I got love for that brother. I support that brother. I'm looking forward to kind of working on helping him get that message out in other spaces. HBCUs need to hear this. Central Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy needs to hear this. So I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get everything because it was a big weekend. What happened Sunday, Kai? What was Sunday?
I don't know what you did, but I chilled.
You chilled Sunday.
Oh no, I walked. Okay, so I have this new thing. If I want something sweet to eat, or like a dessert or something, I have to walk to get it.
Okay.
So we walked to Martha's Country Bakery to get our dessert. So it was a 6-mile walk in total.
Okay.
Yep. So like, where are my applause for that?
Right, where's the
Jason?
applause? Okay. I like that.
So I did that, you know, because it's like, I'm, on this health, being healthy.
It's not a destination, it's a journey, right? And
yeah, so I did that, then purged my kitchen and, just kind of chilled out.
Awesome.
I had shout out to the AKAs because I want to talk about my Saturday.
Yeah, come on, do it.
Let me shout out the AKAs.
You coming to the front?
I'm coming to the front.
Okay,
I'm coming to the front.
Come on.
Hey! All early, right? Mm-hmm. Shout out to the AKAs. I love you guys. You showed me so much love and you were so amazing. We did a fashion show with them and I killed it. I must say so myself. Like, I feel very proud of myself, if you can't tell.
Right.
But anyway, shout out.
That was awesome. Where was it?
It was in Bergen County, New Jersey.
Okay.
New Jersey.
You've been doing your thing in Jersey.
I've been doing my thing, yeah. Like next year it's gonna be very big. Yeah. We got some exciting stuff coming for Hip Hop Closet in Jersey. So next year, 2024.
Jay, what's up with you? How you feeling?
I'm good, man.
You fully recovered from the
Yeah, I've been recovered.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm back out there running.
Good for you.
Had a good weekend. Went to the launch of Core Club. They have a new space. So Core Club is basically like Soho House, but for like at another level.
Another level up or
another
level down?
up. No, another level up.
Okay.
Went to Bad Roman in Columbus Circle. Mick and I went apple picking on Sunday.
I'm headed out there on Saturday.
We got a bake-off coming up.
Hey, so, you gonna bring a pie next week?
Yeah, I'll bring something through.
Yeah, bring a pie next week.
Chef,
Kyle, we both gonna have to walk so that we can eat the pie.
Right, I'm gonna have to walk here.
Right,
I'm gonna have to walk here
so I can eat the pie.
And then the Chicago kicks came in. So if you notice on the tongue, it says "Mess runs the world."
Let me see. You Nike ID them joints?
Chicago Cubs.
I was peeping.
What is this, velvet?
We all got Jordans. Those are not Jordans. Those are Dunks.
Yeah.
Okay, the sneaker game is lit.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I'll bring it out later.
Yeah, indeed. So God is great, and I say that all the time. Whenever people kind of give us our flowers and say, wow, Hip Hop Closet is doing their thing, or you're doing your thing, it's really, this has been a lesson in life, right? And this summer 2023 was amazing. We keep rolling in the fall. God keeps expanding our territory, and I'm just excited, right? So this is where we're gonna start. I don't know much about our guest today, I'm gonna be honest with you, but Kaisha did send me a resume, and just like I said, if you read the caption, what I said, I meant. When I read this woman's resume, it read like a television guide. Like, you know, when you hit the TV guide and all the channels come down, she's literally worked with each of the channels. We talk a lot about various aspects of the hip hop culture specifically, but generally this is a conversation about black culture, right? And how it permeates through different things. We speak to artists, we speak to DJs. What you do is very significant, but it's not something that's always discussed. Like I think we said this a few weeks back. I was talking about how I went to Morgan State, and I remember when Will Smith wore the Morgan State sweater on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, how amped I was that he did that. I remember when Martin or Gina, one of them, had the Morgan State sweatshirt on, and how amped I was because they were representing something that I represented, right? You take for granted that the things that you see from an aesthetic on television happens. You just like, I mean, I get dressed, so if they get dressed, they dressed, right? Sure. We rarely talk about the intentionality behind that, and I think that that's going to be a good place. And look, I did this for you. Look, I wore texture. Look, Kai, I wore texture. I wore color.
Gordon Gartrell?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I wore my Gordon Gartrell shirt, right? Hold on, I got this lollipop is for Michaela. I got this from the meeting I went to last. I gotta keep that. But I said I gotta come fashion forward, and then I see this hoodie, and I love this hoodie. I'm loving this hoodie. This is something that I would rock.
It's so funny. I did the same thing for you that you did for me.
See, this is synergy.
I was like, I'm gonna wear something to represent what I feel is the way I was watching your show.
Right.
You always wear a hoodie.
I wear hoodies all the time.
And so I said, okay, I'm gonna rock a hoodie,
which
I really do.
Yeah.
And then now you're wearing something that I normally wear.
Right.
A fabulous shirt.
Look at this. Look at how we do this, right? So I want to, without further ado, I want to introduce to some, and I want to present to others Miss Robin Newland. How you doing? Right? Good. Are you from Brooklyn?
No, I'm from Harlem.
Where at in Harlem?
Kingdom Projects.
Oh, you from the Kingdom Project.
Shout out Kingdom.
Shout out Kingdom. Okay, great place to start.
Yes. So yeah, my family, my mom's sitting here with me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Say hi, Mom.
Your mom's is dressed fly. I don't know if they saw her. They probably haven't seen her.
No, she's so
right,
fly.
but that fit, as soon as I walked in, I complimented her. As soon as I
right,
said
like
that,
the hair,
I said, yo, I love
like
the
I'm
fit.
loving the whole
I'm
movement.
loving the whole thing.
So Mom still resides in my in the place where she grew up.
Awesome.
My third generation on my mom's side from Harlem, and second from my dad's from Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
So Harlem is in my blood.
Mm-hmm.
Hip hop is in my blood.
Mm-hmm.
I did get to live in the Bronx for a little bit, right when hip hop did first sort of come out and start, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a good place to be too, to be like right on the streets where everything was happening. You know, AJ Lester, everything. You know, the lines of the pants, the pick in the back pocket, croquettes. So you got the real street fashion, authentic. So as a wardrobe person, I've always tried to keep that within everything that I do, to try to make sure that a bit of New York is in it. You know, like when I worked with Criss Cross for their Jump video, and putting them in like jerseys, you know, pretty much baseball jerseys. One was, you know, Mets, one was Knicks. But the fact that there were jerseys represented the Bronx, which is where hip hop originated, which is where a lot of the street culture where it all really comes from, the kids from the streets and what they're feeling. So I wanted to make sure that that stays within it, which is why I love Hip Hop Closet, because I feel that it's extremely authentic. And that means a lot to me. So when I did the Missy Elliott album cover, Super Duper Fly,
that's why you posted, I'm sorry, because Kaisha, when she posted the thing, she posted Missy Elliott's Super Duper Fly album cover. And I was like, why did she do that? Like, maybe, you know how sometimes
You had to
press
read
an
the
extra
caption.
photo. Right, that's why, okay. So
yeah,
you did that
thank
as well.
you for posting that. And that was because that was important to design a baseball shirt that also represented the Bronx, New York. So I put that in a lot of things. When I did the Will Smith summertime video, they're rocking the Phillies.
You gonna stop this flexing on me like this? Like, yeah. So when I did Will Smith, you know, like.
You're big partner, Jazzy Jeff.
Right. So you did what Will Smith? Summertime?
In the album cover.
Oh, so you basically did like one of the biggest classics of the Black experience growing up in the 80s. Summertime. You did that video.
Yes, I was the stylist for the music video. We went down to Philly, and Will is a nice guy, and so is Jeff. So yeah, they're wearing the Phillies baseball shirt, which we're talking about again, which represents, once again, the boogie down Bronx. So like, whenever, not all the time, but a lot of the times I would try to keep that flavor, that New York Bronx flavor.
I want to pull back a little bit because you kind of, like, you're taking us into the meat of this discussion, but I kind of want to begin at the beginning, so to speak. So a few years back, we did like this, would you call it like a documentary, Kyle? Like, remember when we did the thing about fashion and we was interviewing people? I guess you can call it a doc or
it
short.
Was a doc, yeah. What was the name?
Right? And so one of the questions that we were asking people were, tell me a time when you felt your flyers, right? So tell me a time where you were dressed in a specific outfit, going to a specific thing, and you felt flyer than you ever felt before.
Myself.
Yeah, you. Yeah.
That's an interesting one because I have a long journey with that, believe it or not. I would have to say when I did a Vogue photo shoot for Interview magazine with Andy Warhol.
What year was this?
This was in the probably the late 80s. And I know it was a while back, but it's like my favorite outfit and one of my favorite shots where I'm wearing like this rubber wear outfit and I'm voguing. And the picture is just like, whoa, mind blown.
Is the picture in the ether? Like I could find it if I
it's a very famous photograph. Yeah, it's a pretty, because it was published by, and put in Andy Warhol's Interview magazine.
Wow.
So it was published, and he put it like, it was weird because I was kind of young and he like published it so huge and he made it in color. And it was my first time being published. So I was kind of like really blown away because I was still living at home in the Bronx at the time. So I was kind of like, whoa, what's up? But I mean, it doesn't really totally answer your question. So I guess it
does, but
because I'm more like, it's like I never really, for myself to get dressed up, it takes a lot. So even to come out and be on here was kind of like, oh my God, can you show? I want to come early. Can you help me? But I know she was busy today, so I had to sort of get my mom to help instead.
But you killed it. The shoes.
Oh, you like the Belgian loafers?
Is this it?
Do you know about Belgian loafers?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them before. I'm not going to claim to know. I don't own a pair, but those are hot.
These are my favorite shoes in the world. These are from here. These are hip hop.
Okay, well, that's why I love them, right? And then the hoodie, like you're well appointed. You got the picture, Kyle?
I thought I did, but I don't think I did.
Yeah, you're well appointed. You're well appointed. How did you wind up mixing with Andy Warhol?
Andy, I was modeling for a designer by the name of Andre Walker.
You modeled for Andre Walker?
I did, yes. I was his muse, believe it or not.
What?
And so Andy would come to the shows, and I believe it was there that he discovered me and became sort of a fan. And then we became friends shortly after, and we were really good friends until his passing. You know, I actually might have the last picture of him taken.
How old were you during this time?
Oh gosh, I was so young. It was ridiculous.
You were like high school
out of the house.
Right?
Yeah, I was sneaking out of the house.
Yeah, see, this is what I want to talk about. Right, so this is what I want to talk about.
I had to sneak out. Mom was asleep, and I'd be sneaking out.
So at the time, what high school were you attending?
Look, Mom says 16.
Right, thank you, Mom.
What high school called City Ave School.
You went to City Ave?
I went to City Ave, like where Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Yeah, I was about to say, okay, yeah.
But he was.
So I went to Brooklyn Tech, right?
Oh, you're Brooklyn Tech.
We all, the three of us are Tech now.
Oh.
Right, so Brooklyn Tech, people that were in truancy and tech and failed out of truancy wound up going to City Ave. So we know City Ave because all of our bad friends went to City Ave.
That was true.
Right.
The truant. Well, I wasn't a truant.
Right.
My case was a little different.
Right. But, so you went to City Ave.
I went to City Ave school. So yeah, because a lot of people don't know about City Ave school, but of course we all know about your school.
No, we all know about your school.
Oh, I feel honored.
Trust me.
Really,
Yeah.
That's amazing to be amongst.
So you was at City Ave. So you was coming down to Brooklyn?
Well, no, City As was on Clarkson Street in the village.
Okay, because now it's, well, even in the 90s, it wound up being here.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
They
by
finally got a
Concord.
nice
Yeah,
building.
yeah, they got a building right. If you come off the Manhattan Bridge.
We were in some beat up, you don't even understand our school, down on Clarkson Street. But it was cool, that was our school for many years, yeah.
Okay, so you at City As, how did you, so like, you would come home and like, you would just leave the house at night?
Well, we'd go out clubbing, like I was a club
You
kid.
were too young to do that.
They weren't IDing back then.
Fact.
And so we'd hang out like at a club called Danceteria.
Danceteria.
And I was like a punk rocker. So I was in a band called James White and the Blacks at the time.
Were you a singer?
Backup singer, yeah.
Nice.
And so that was interesting because that would get me into the places because I was in this guy's band. I was a celebrity. Oh, there's the girl that sings with the guy. So me and all my friends would get in the club, da da da.
Right.
I'd sing on stage with him, and people saw me from that too, and then wanted to know me. So that became another little weird little weight sort of, and I think to like that whole little art downtown little circus.
Right. What was it about that scene that attracted a 16-year-old girl from the Bronx?
Well, the thing is that I feel that I became the scene, believe it or not, rather than me being attracted to the scene.
You became the scene.
Yes, because
She's still flexing. You see this? You're still flexing. I love it.
No, you should see these behind the scenes photos that I'm showing everybody.
Yo.
Like,
because I was already creating style back then, which I wasn't aware that I was creating style. But when you're in a punk rock band and you want to look different, you're gonna because I was already photographed by Amy Arbus, like on the streets in a famous book from a look that I put together myself. And I used to wear these blonde wigs and like these leather skirts and like a bowling shirt with suspenders, and it would look very eccentric. And then, but having friends like Jean-Michel as your big brother, who was really, really eccentric. But I was eccentric in my own world, so by the time we all came together, everyone was their own people already.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was following the scene because I had brought a friend down, Richard, who I had styled, and I had styled myself. So we were already making ourselves look. We were sort of like acting like we were rich kids from Riverdale. Because at one point I was in Kennedy before I got switched to City As. So a lot of kids in Riverdale were very wealthy, so we pretend that we were like these wealthy kids by the time we could come downtown and hang out with a bunch of sort of trust fund children.
Right.
And we didn't want to let them know that we weren't trust fund, but there was no way we could be trust fund, not really at that time and point, you know what I mean? Because he was like Latin and I was white, so it's not a lot of us trust fund types, really.
Tell me about how you create style. How do you create style?
Well, I have a doll collection.
I know, your IG page is so fly.
Because
It's like offbeat. It's like offbeat, but purposeful. Like it's dope. So it's, tell me about
So
it.
the dolls, like they've been a part of my life, like for a while. They've been like sort of like Jesus Christ on his crutches.
Jesus Christ on his crutches?
Yeah, like, they hold them up, and
Oh,
keep them strong.
Yes.
And so they were an escapism for me from, growing up with several strikes against me. So I would use the dolls as an escapism, and they became a way to learn about style without realizing it. So it was a natural thing to just take a doll and just change its whole look and say, I'm going to make you this person and that person. And then by the time I started styling real people, well, I was an editor of the magazine first. So then it was a magazine called In Fashion and Sportswear International. So I'd come up with editorial spreads for the magazine, but they'd still be sort of based on doll-like stories. And then we'd do the fashion shoot, and then I'd go back home and try to come up with another idea. And it would all kind of still be inspired from these dolls, believe it or not.
So, excuse me. So, what it sounds like is you kind of manifested this idea of creating style first in the confines of your own space, but then you kind of brought it into the public. And now you're, like you said, you're downtown dealing with trust fund babies, dressing as a way to mimic them, but also creating, because that's the thing about your generation, the Basquiats, the Herrings, the Warhols, the Fat Five Freddies, you know, the Larry Levans, like that time period. The thing that I love about you guys is that you guys were all creating free of this idea of the need to mimic something. Like everything that you guys created was new in the moment, right? So, like, you grew up a lot. You're 16 years old during the time.
Yeah, it was, you know, at that time it was, you know, but I was blessed because I would do like, at CDS school you get to do internships.
Right.
So you had the chance to put yourself in an environment that was extremely professional.
Right.
So then you'd be able to have that to really get through doors. Like I became an intern at the magazine, then I became the accessories editor. And then from being the accessories editor, I started doing Essence covers.
How old are you now? Are you getting paid?
Oh yeah, I was getting paid.
You get a check.
I was only getting, not paid a lot at the magazine, but I
Right.
was being offered a lot of other money at the time. But I feel like if you're driven by money, you're not going to get anywhere.
Facts. New York City in the 80s is unmatched in terms of
Sure.
its Easter eggs, in terms of the things that you could find. When you graduate, did you graduate City As? Because the way
Yes,
you was
I did,
acting,
yeah.
I don't know if...
Yeah, I did. I got out of there, you know, because I went and I did an internship like in Berlin. I lived in Berlin.
So you lived in Berlin after City As?
Well, during CDS, because I was studying like furniture design
Mm-hmm.
and like interior design and architecture, which was
This
my
is
big
really a
passion.
Renaissance story. Like, what?
Yeah, that was like my passion. So,
Right.
you know, so I did like an internship at this place called Art and Industry, which did radical functional furniture,
Right.
which I make furniture for the dolls, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And so that was another little hobby. But then when I got to go to art school and study at Parsons,
Okay, so you went to
I went to Parsons School of Design and in the environmental design and studied lighting, the history of architecture, interior design and furniture, which is what gave me a lot of my aesthetic which led me to become a costume designer and a member of Local 892 today,
Right.
which is where I design films now. You know,
Right.
because it's been like a process,
Right.
and being a costume designer is, for me, it's kind of like the ultimate
Mm-hmm.
in a way, like and it like intellectualized my profession from starting working at a dry cleaners, believe it or not, to learning about fabrics and textures, to different designers and silhouettes, to then doing hip hop videos and learning how to do that, to then learning how to know the magic of filming to take it to motion picture.
How did you get into hip hop videos? Because you're coming from a punk rock aesthetic,
Very good
you're
question.
doing furniture, you're doing like every aspect of design other than hip hop.
Yeah, it was a real fluke because luckily my brother Russell, may he rest in peace, his name is Ricky T, and he was a part of the Cold Crush crew.
Okay.
Him and I shared a bedroom, and I was listening to My Sharona, and he was listening to And Your Chicken Just Tastes Like Wood. And so we'd have like fights, and like we'd fight over like the room and the music. And he'd he got into My Sharona, I got into The Chicken Tastes Like Wood, but there was always a battle, really. So, but to make a long story short, I had an agency at the time where I was doing advertisement for Gray Advertisement and Pantene commercials and making like $5,000 a day, but I hated it. So my agent said this thing came along, but they couldn't do it through the agency. It was the Queen Latifah video coming to my house. So she said, you can go over there, but they're only paying, forget how much it was.
It wasn't 5 stacks. Yeah.
It wasn't 5,000.
Right.
So she said, we can't do it through the agency, but I know you're so miserable making this 5,000 a day.
Right. Oh, Jesus.
We'll
Right.
send you over to do it, but we can't book it through the agent. I said, oh, okay. So I go over. I happen to know the director, which was very bizarre, but he didn't recognize me, so I didn't want to tell him, but I knew him, Simeon Sofer. So I was hired on my portfolio through Monica Lynch, and so they wanted me to do this music video for Queen Latifah, and I didn't know who she was. And so I decided, I looked at some of her stuff, and then I decided I'm going to do my own version of what I wanted to do, which is what I did. And I designed this turban and added all this jewelry and went a little crazy with the whole thing. I'm not sure how La felt about it really, but Monica was really in charge of everything, so I was hired. So I didn't know Latifah. I really wasn't used to the artist thing at that point.
Right.
So we do the video. My agent is still looking down upon these jobs. The video becomes #1 on MTV or whatever. The director wins an award for his special effect or whatever. And I'm very excited about the energy of the success of that. And I wanted to be a part of more of it. And so I started to notice that Video Music Box had a home run hit. The Vid Kid, Lionel Martin and Ralph McDaniels, they had a home run hit. And I'm like a survival type person, being that I come from, not a very financial.
You come from a rough and tumble environment.
Thank you. So
right.
I was trying to figure out I have to have a home run hit to survive.
Right.
So I saw that they had a thing where if you got hired to do their video, you got airtime on Video Music Box. Mm-hmm. If Classic Concepts hired you, mm-hmm. So I said, "Oh, I got to get in with these. These brothers got they got like they playing them, they winning, right?" So there was a woman named a female director at the time. Her name was Pamela something, but she hired me for Granddaddy IU, and then I dressed him up and
R.I.P. Granddaddy IU.
I said, "Yo, I'm gonna flip this so out that when they see this video, they will say, who did this?"
Right.
So I got Giorgio Armani, because my friend Wilfredo Rosado was working over there, hooked me up. I came through with so much fly stuff.
Right.
So when Lionel Martin saw the video, the first thing he see, I think the video, I put him in like all this cream stuff, like beautiful 1940s menswear. He was playing this little record player. It was a great video. Mm-hmm. The next thing I know, they're blowing my spot up like, Lionel Martin wants you.
Right.
But the way I used to dress back then, I used to wear still me and Jean-Michel had our own style, which is now the style, which kind of obsessed me a little bit. So I would come dressed anywhere I want to come, and people would be like, "Yo, she's the stylist?" And Lionel would say, "Well, yeah, if you don't want to work with her, then hire somebody else." So I was like, "I'm not changing my look for you."
But what was the look? Like grunge? Like what was
Not
it?
really grunge. I like to wear big white shirts. I don't like to iron my clothes. You know, before the holes was in, I was already wearing everything ripped up.
Right.
Way before.
Right, and that was before it was.
Way before.
So who is this?
Yeah, when I started seeing ripped up stuff, I talk to John and Heather sometimes, yo, they just knocked off our whole look, yo. That's why I'm wearing this hoodie today to represent his love, yo.
Yeah, absolutely.
May he rest in peace,
absolutely.
But so then that's kind of how it happened. I hooked up with the Vid Kid and Ralph McDaniels, who wasn't really directing a lot. He was doing the X-Clan back then, which I worked on a lot with him with those, but they didn't really need a stylist, but because they had their own look, you know what I'm saying? But I worked on their videos. But then the main ones were, when he first hired me, he felt that I was too, I'm not sure what it was, so he had me doing Heat Sweat, Guy with Aaron Hall and Teddy. And they really didn't need style because they already had their own style. Teddy would come in with a bag full of, Gucci and Versace, all this stuff, which was cool, But I felt oh man, so then all of a sudden I would say, yo, Lionel, look, trust me, I'm from the Bronx, yo, I could do a hip hop video. I'm telling you, give me a chance. He's like, if you get on a set with one of them, they'll chew you up and spit you out. Right. I said, all right. So then my phone rings another day. He goes, oh, yo, I'm doing a movie, yo. I want you to do the Ill Street Blues video with Cool G Rap. I didn't know who Cool G Rap was. I knew he got the bubble lip. I was like, yo, that's so good. I met Cool G.
You said you didn't know who he was.
Right, I met him. I was like, yo, I felt so in love with Cool G. This is my main man for real. I love him like a guru, really, but Cool G, right? So then what happened was I was working with this catalog called Kabilas from Sportswear International with all the hunting stuff. So I said, I'm gonna flip this. I'm gonna take this camouflage thing from the streets and I'm gonna make this the biggest thing. So I hooked them up on the Ill Street Blues with the matching. They was like, but that's like matching pants. I said, put this on, man. You're gonna watch. This is gonna hit. And Coogee was like, only because you're sweet, I'm gonna put this on. We put that on. That whole video, the whole look was like, yo, because you lose, because you got the Ill Street Blue. So then it was nice, because then the hip hop thing with the camouflage, I can't say, oh, I'm responsible.
Nah, but it took, I was about to tell you, it took off.
Yes, yeah, it really did, right? Then and then, so I threw it on SWV and one of their videos.
Field Vest took off.
Yeah, so.
I was talking about Field Vest last week.
Well, really? So, so Kabilas,
right,
they got it. I mean,
they had the Field Vest, right.
I had to give up the resource, but whoop, there it is, Yeah, so no, I like this whole thing has been a real blessing for me, mostly coming from parents like my mother and my father, because my mother really has always been into fashion.
Nah,
since
she
I was
fly.
little.
I know. You ain't got to
She's
tell
like,
me.
you can't, you got, like, she's really, like, into fashion, like.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, Robert Hammond, Dapper Dan talks about him. He writes about him in his book. He says that my father's side of the family is responsible for Ghetto Fabulous, right out of Dapper Dan's mouth. So I don't really try to take credit, but, like, when I was working with, what's his name, Heavy D and Andre Harrell. And that's kind of like where it all started, because the business was kind of small at one time, and they were trying to hold it down. So you had Heavy D and the Boys who had hits, and they had like a good record deal. And then LL Cool J was the only one that really had the big one at MC Light at the time.
Right.
So it was really just the three of them before everything was independent, before they got the big record deals and started opening up the divisions within the record labels, which happened after Crisscross Jump Jump at Sony. Because once those record sales went off, that really opened up the hip hop game a lot.
I just want to ask you, because there's so many, your answers are just eliciting more questions in my mind. I just want to talk for a minute about that 5,000 a day, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you was getting 5,000 a day.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about your life at the time. Like, where were you living? How were you living? And what was it about hip hop culture that made you forsake that? Because, even though money is not purpose, but money feeds everything, right? And so for you to be able to stand on business and say, well, listen, I like where this is going, I want to be down with that. And even more interesting, for the people that you were working for that money was like, yeah, well, we know you hate it here, so go over there. Like, I want to know more about that transition. Like,
well, like,
what was your personal life like at the time?
Well, for me, I've always been a person that's admired Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Like his whole thing with pop culture.
Yeah.
And him and I would have a lot of really intense conversations about popular culture.
Yeah. That's a blessing.
And with me admiring him so much, I always wanted to be a part of popular culture. So when I saw the success of the Queen Latifah video, that was the closest that I felt I could get to being like an Andy Warhol. Even though I know I could never be him or be like, but I wanted to be like a Warhol type person in my own way.
Right.
So by having a purpose of wanting to be a part of popular culture is what kept the drive there. And then by continuously being blessed with getting people like Joe to see their image, the Forever My Lady video.
Oh, that's us. That's definitely us.
Yes, so so I would say from the Forever My
You
Lady.
gave Joe to see the image, those linen suits with the
thing is,
game hats.
Well, let's just take it back, because there's been a lot of controversy with this, and I want to set the record straight. So pretty much when I was hired to do the Forever My Lady music video for Jodeci, this was kind of like the beginning of like, okay, great, they're not, and I have nothing against Guy, I have nothing against Aaron Hall or Keith Sweat, but this was the opportunity that I was looking for to make a change, right? So when they came along, it was like, okay, great, I'm gonna give them a hip hop attitude with, that still has a street flavor that's more youthful, yet they sound like the Temptations, yet they're the new Temptations of now. Now, it was a collaborative effort because I was working with Angela Hunt, who was working very closely with Lionel Martin, and Angie was kind of like a person that he trusted to make sure that the aesthetic of everything was going to go right, because Lionel Martin was a control freak. And so, which was okay, because that's a good director. And so with the 100 times I got to work with him, it was amazing because I learned a lot. But sometimes I would have to be, under the direction of someone like Angela Hunt who would be with me, but I still would make the decisions. And so when we did the combat boot, which I got from Kaufman's Army and Navy on 42nd Street. And then we got the linen, the silk suits. They were silk, actually, with the hoodies and all that,
Right,
down
with the
down in the village on 8th Street, because back in the day, you could go on 8th Street, and there was a shop I'd go in, it was an Indian guy who made all these leathers, he made custom things, so that was a special order that I had put in. And so, when it happened and it hit, it was like, whoa, this is what I was looking for. This is that new thing. So then by the time I did SWV, it was kind of like, you know, especially the video when they're on the horses, you know, with the Michael Jackson, you know, thing on in the background, you know, Human Nature. So then that was also like the female answer to that.
To the Jodeci aesthetic.
Right.
Right.
But just that soft sort of flowing, but then I also would make them hard street as well.
Right.
But just to have that feeling, because they both had these, they had these voices that they reminded you of like a Gladys Knight and the Pips, but you're not there anymore. You may have grown up loving Gladys Knight and the Pips, the Temptations, all that style, that's in your bloodline, that's in your subconscious.
Right.
But now, this is now. So you're trying to bring a little bit of the Bronx into it. You're trying to bring a little bit of Gladys Knight into it, the Temptations into it, the Pips into it, but yet you want to add a little street.
Where would you have these conversations?
What conversation?
Like how you telling me you're analyzing how this looks, and you're talking about the music, you're talking about the aesthetic, you're talking about the hard and the soft. Where would you have, like, who would you talk to about this? Because I mean... That's
an interesting question. I feel like for me, I would pray a lot, because the thing would be like Lionel was so busy. Sometimes I wouldn't even get to see the artist. So a lot of it would be from the heart, mostly, always. And like, you know, one time I did this this group, I think they were called, I mean, there's so many groups, but that song, I Want to Sex You Up.
Color Me Back?
That's called Color Me Back.
Oh, yeah.
She said, you know that, I want to, yeah, Color Me Back.
Yeah, I was going to say Color Me Back, because, but then, yeah, thank you. So, you know, like working with them, kind of like I didn't really get to meet the guys before, which is really unusual. But then I said, okay, Color Me Bad, there's 5 guys. Why don't I do the primary colors? Right?
I remember that.
So then I just said, oh, okay, boom, because it was moving so fast. And I used to also, because I had so much control of giving these people their images for the first time, and I always felt like, oh my God, you know, this is their lives. You know, they're entrusting me. So I'm always nervous before anything, which is a good nervous, because if you're not nervous, then you don't care about it. Like even coming here today, I was like,
nervous is good.
I was flipping out, but I said, you know, even now my heart is still pumping a bit.
Yeah, nervous is
but it's because it's something that I wanted to be a part of, you know.
Tell me about a fail. Tell me about a time when you were hired, appointed, anointed to do a costume design or set design or stylist, and you failed.
Okay, there's been, I'm not going to say it's all been rosy, so I was working on that So Raven TV show, and I am a self-taught costume designer, so, so, you know, I had to do this dress that had to be like made out of flowers, right? And it was really challenging, and a lot of the costumes on that show were really challenging, but this one in particular, I know was, it still aired. No, I think ABC was happy with it, because they would have made me redo another one. I wasn't happy with it. I thought, well, what did I do? It came down. And another time also, I did a video for SWV, their first video. I put them, but this video got them on MTV. I put them in these kind of this punk rock outfit, and Coco was really done with me. She was done, you know, and then Lionel was like, whatever Robin says, you know, so, and there it was, you know, and I'm looking at the video, but they made it to MTV, and so I think that was the point of what they wanted, to cross over and be pop. I personally still love the outfits, but you know, but I think I'm not sure. Coco, when she first saw the dress, she was like, I'm not putting that on. And me, luckily, being, you know, going to, like, you know, being in the Bronx and knowing how, you know, people from the Bronx can be a little different from us from Harlem, but they seem to be a bit more like, they will punch you in your face, you know, ish. Where in Harlem, we will do the same thing, but you know it before, you know, sort of.
So you didn't know whether or not you was supposed to
You know what's coming.
Yeah, you know it before, like, yo, you know, like, okay, like, you
Right.
know, like you're cursed out, they're coming at you, like, loud.
Right,
like,
but this
you know,
time you
yeah,
was
it's
like, yeah, like,
it's like those eyes, you know, like those
Right.
nails, like, you know.
right.
So, but, but it worked out, and
Right.
you know, eventually, you know, it all. But you do have some fashion food parlors a lot of the times, and you're put under so much responsibility. But I feel that, like being a costume designer, you're forced to think things through from A to Z. Like if a girl has to start out early in the day and end up somewhere later on, either she changes to the evening or she doesn't, depending on the scene. So a lot of times you're thinking things through. So things should work out. If like I've been very blessed because 99.9% of everything I've worked on has been a huge success, and that is definitely a highly favored position to be in.
Very subtly, you've explained to us the backstory behind the costume designs for some of the biggest hip hop and R&B videos of that time period. Heavy D, Jodeci, SWV, Fresh Prince, Summertime. How fast were you moving at that time? But what I mean by that is, what was a work week like? Was it 60 hours a week? Was it 80 hours a week? Was it 20 hours a week? How fast? Because you're talking about some of the most iconic instances of the culture at the Forever My Lady is a iconic moment in the culture. Even Color Me Bad, I Want to Sex You Up, was iconic in its moment, right? So you're a part of a lot of things that are moving very fast. You have your hand on the wheel because, like you said, Lionel Martin, I asked you, who'd you talk to about it? You said you prayed about it because Lionel Martin was kind of busy, so you had a bit of autonomy in this moment. Tell me about that work schedule and work-life balance. Like, were you happy? Were you eating? Like, were you sleeping? Were you drinking? Like, what were you doing?
It's a good. Well, you know, a lot of times you ate out a lot.
Yeah.
So you know, I lived in Tribeca, so there was a place in Chinatown that you go to 24 hours and get fully cooked delicious food. It wasn't. I don't think that was the name of it, but it was.
Shout to Woha.
It was open. It just was open 24 hours. So
Right.
you always had budget. So you were allowed to use money for food and
Right.
transportation.
Right.
But Lionel used to like to shoot in Los Angeles a lot, and travel around a lot. So you would find yourself very busy. I mean, you didn't even know. I mean, you had so many projects back to back that you just stayed busy. And sometimes I remember at one point when groups like a Wu-Tang Clan came out, because I did some projects with them. I did the Wu Wear video and Oh Dirty Bastard, Shimmy Shimmy. So by the time you got to work with those guys too, which was a little bit later, but their whole thing blew up too. Like their logo, everything.
Right.
So when you're working with all these, some people would, at one point I was like the only person of color really. So when I got to do the Wu Wear video, Method Man was on the set, and he was like, it was early, and he's like, you got to send whoever that person is home. I need a black stylist. So I get calls also on top of working for this one and that one.
On top of the projects, you're getting calls for other
just
things.
because of my skin color.
Right.
And sometimes that would be a little upsetting because you want to be high for your reputation, but then you go and you meet Method Man and you spend the day with him, and you realize that he wants you there, he needs you there. So then you're there for him,
Right.
But I would say I was working at least 70, 80 hours a week. No, maybe 100 hours a week.
Right.
Maybe
This
that
sounds like
1,000 hours a week. However many hours were in the week.
How many hours?
And maybe like 6 hours of sleep a night.
Right.
And no days off, no
Right.
life, because I really
No
saw
life.
my family.
Right.
I really saw my family, and I didn't have a relationship because
Right.
you really couldn't have a relationship. And I had made that decision at a time where I said, well, you know what? I spoke to God about it, and I said, my family really needs me financially, and I really want to make something out of myself to be a role model for my family,
Right.
for upcoming members that may have not had someone to look up to feel that they could do something to make a contribution to the world.
So you understood what the importance of the role was, not just in the work, but how you reflect in your community, in your family, and the whole thing. Do you consider yourself genius?
Only if Jean-Michel was here to say it. No.
I wish Jean-Michel was here, because I would tell him, like, yo, bro, she's genius.
Thank you. Wow.
Like, you can't do this. Like, you
can't.
can't, you cannot. Let me tell you something. I do a lot. Right? I do a lot. And there has been multiple occasions where I have burnt out from doing a lot. Listening to you, and we didn't even get past 92 yet, 93 yet. Listening to that early time frame, Jesus Christ, woman, you're doing a lot. And to do a lot, you got to process a lot of information. And in order to process a lot of information, you got to have a mind that is built to process information. And if you have that type of supercomputer in your head, you're a genius.
Wow, thank you for
So, thank you. All right, that was on point. So, let's move out of, because the other thing is, and you and I could talk forever, because this is like the thing that I love, right? I love the 80s and 90s time period, because as a child and a teenager growing up, I just wanted to be in the culture. So people like you, I envy, because like you were just so deep in the culture. But also, I always talk about how the hip-hop culture was very fast. Like 92 to 96 was probably like the fastest 4 years the culture has ever seen. Right. Did you feel that at the time?
Yes, I did, because you had, like, I also, believe it or not, gave the Fugees their image.
You got to stop doing that to me. You got to stop flexing like that. But you gave the Fugees their image.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was, so the thing is, you got, like, the Fugees, so they came out, they wanted, the feeling I got from them was like, oh, they're not, I mean, what is this, you know? So right. Jean-Paul Gaultier Denim had just come out at the time, which was really funky, and they said they wanted to be refugees. Mm-hmm. So I really didn't know what exactly a refugee was, right. But I kind of sort of figured it out and came up with this Jean-Paul Gaultier Denim, which had all these different textures, but yet it was still hip-hop. So I was like, okay, this will work. And then we did an album cover for them, which was not a success.
Which album cover?
You know, I wish I knew the name of it.
Not The Score.
No, because that was the success.
That was
Blunted on Reality.
Album. Right, Blunted on Reality. That's
that's it. Thank you, Blunted on Reality. Thank you for Jason.
Wow,
so so the Blunted on Reality album cover. It was a fabulous photo shoot. So what had happened was Sony. But anyway, to not go off your question. So at that time you had so many different types of styles going on, and because, like I said, everything's close to my heart, and this is these people's lives. So I would make sure that I took the time out to give everybody their own individual, complete feeling. Mm-hmm. You know, so the Fugees to me was the most different in a way, because they weren't American except for Lauren, mm-hmm. But the other two gentlemen, Wyclef and Pras, they weren't American. So Wyclef wanted to, of course, be like the star of the band or whatever. But Sony told them if they didn't have a hit record on the next album that they would be dropped. So, and then I was torn between SWV and the Fugees at the time. And I chose to work closely with SWV because it felt a little bit closer to home. I'm not sure why. Also, I had did something with Lauren or whatever, and so I didn't, because I wasn't listening to hip hop, I didn't realize that was their song. So she drove me home, actually. I had styled her for something. She drove me home, and then the song came on the radio, and she's like rapping to it. I'm like, oh, is that your record?
Yeah, I love it.
And she's like, oh yeah, that's our record. And then of course I never saw her again after that, which was okay, because I had the loyalty of SWV.
Right.
But then it was interesting to watch a group that I had given their image to blow up like that. So you do get attached to these groups, and then you get, like, emotionally attached, which is not the greatest thing, because a lot of artists, sometimes when you start with them, they don't have a lot of money, and so you may be the most original person to give them the most love and the most amazing experience that they ever have, and then they'll go on to the next person who they're paying more money to, or whatever it may be. And but when I was getting hurt by that, I always started just saying that stardom has a way of taking you away. So, and then I became more like, you know what, this is a good thing. I'm happy for them because you were a part of that, and it's a seed that's now blossomed into this bigger, greater
Did you
thing.
feel like a star? And by star, I don't mean like celebrity. What I mean is like, did you feel like a master at what you were doing yet?
I felt that way when I did the film Chapter and Verse.
Okay, let's get, because I want to kind of move out of...
I felt like that. It took a while because you still feel like when you're doing music videos and dealing with artists, it's a lot of personalities involved. And you have to take all of that into consideration along with the latest trends and what may look good on them, what colors. So there's all these different variables as a professional wardrobe person that goes into it all.
Gotcha.
So there's all that you have to take in.
Tell me about the transition out of hip hop and into film and television and the future. Tell me how that worked.
Well,
What was the last hip hop thing you did?
Well, now the last hip hop thing I did would have most likely would have been the Woo Where It Feels Like, the Woo Where video.
It's what you want,
It's
it's what you get.
And I still look at that video all the time, like,
Right.
and I'll be like,
Right.
this
You
is a
should be
good,
popping,
like,
right.
And I'll be like, I said, this is a good way to go out. Because
Right.
they're talking about woo wear,
Right.
they're talking about fashion in
Right.
our video.
Right.
And
so we carried Woo Wear very early on. I'm right, Kai? Yeah, we carried Woo Wear early on.
Oh, Lord, really?
Yeah.
So that was, for me, I feel like that was a good exit. Not that I ever wanted to give, that's why I'm here now, because I have a dream of collaborating with Kaisha. And,
let's make it happen. Wake up. It's time to make it
And
happen.
so I've been sweating her. I had prayed this year for a yes person. And then I had gotten hired for this TV show called Chasing the Dream. And I was like, wow, I haven't been in the game in a minute. Where am I going to get clothes? And Miss Jones was like, you can't say no. And I'm like, what? I could easily say no.
Right,
when I was like, I
how
can't say
dare
no.
you? How dare you tell me that?
She's like, you're gonna do this job, and I'm like, okay, Tarsha, no problem. And then meanwhile, I hang up, and I'm like freaking out, like, what am I gonna do? So my fiance Googles and finds the hip hop closet. And I'm like, oh, okay. We call Kaisha. She's like, yes, come in. And I'm thinking, I walk in here, and I'm like, wow, this reminds me of like 5,001 Flavors, like but 1,000 times, like, on a bigger level in a way,
Right.
So I just was really excited, and I thought, oh, wow, I'm happy, She said yes, and then we were able to do a lot of successful things with the show, and so that worked out.
What's the fundamental difference between working on videos and working on movies?
Well, with movies, what's great about it is, you have a chance to intellectualize everything in terms of the costume has to, it's not up to like a personality or an artist that has to be worried with all these egotistical things going on in their head and their image and this and that. When they come in to do a role as an actor, they have to shed all of that because they have to then become that character.
They have to move into the role.
Yeah,
so it's not about ego and persona, it's really about the work.
Yeah,
right.
So, and for me, that's one of the reasons why after like a lot of the artists would move on or whatever, so becoming a costume designer was more of a Band-Aid over my heart because then I had the chance to to work with artists and actors and they just had to give me this sort of, not that I wasn't getting respect as a stylist, by all means I always have and I always did, but I felt like as a costume designer, it's another level of respect because they can't come in and say, oh, it's just different. Like they can come in and say, I don't like the costume, but they still kind of sort of have to work with you. And when you're dealing with artists, sometimes it could get be a little bit more work in a way because you're dealing with
because you're dealing with personality.
Yeah, personalities.
And I gather with a film, you are kind of working to the script and not to the actor.
Right. So they were all following the director's lead
Right.
and the director's role, and so everyone is collaborating in a different way. Where unless you get an artist that already has an image, then that's another whole. Like I worked with Whitney Houston. And so
Come on, you can keep stunting on me. You've been stunting on me the whole time, right?
No, but I'm
so
saying,
keep going. Yeah, that's
she's
fine.
already, she already
What
had
movie?
Well, I didn't do a movie with her, but I did the shoot video and the Waiting to Exhale video
Of course
and
you
the
did.
TV
Because,
guide cover with
yeah,
her.
right.
And so, but like, you know, when you're working with someone like a Whitney Houston, may she rest in peace, but she was already had her like look.
She had her own look.
Right, so it wasn't like you were gonna bring a new image to the table. So a lot of the artists that I was blessed enough to work with, they had never heard of a stylist before.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the more exciting part for me, why I liked working on Chasing the Dream, because it's a lot of upcoming artists that they have no idea, they're humble.
So you kind of like introducing artists to the art of stylists.
I like to give them their whole image, like to create a look that no one's thought of before, and then all of a sudden it becomes a trend.
Right.
So that's happened over and over again.
Yeah.
And then now what's happening is everyone's resourcing those same trends that came out so long ago, which is shocking. But it's exciting at the same time.
I don't think it's that shocking. You know why? Because I think that what we did in that 10-year, 15-year period, figure from 88 to 2000, was so pioneering in terms of, like, if you look at 86, 87, like you talked about Camo, right? Polo, Guess, Jabro, right? But also Delancey Street and what that meant to hip hop. But also the Sergio Tacchini's sweatsuits, Avenue U, what that meant to hip hop.
Yes, right.
Right? So the fashion, the thing about it was, like, I can remember, we spoke about this on this show,
Walkers.
British Walkers, Clarks, Travel Fox,
exactly.
right?
No doubt.
Game hats. I spoke about this before. The idea of, I'm old enough to be somebody who would go to a club with a shirt on and didn't want to see somebody else with it. If I saw somebody wearing a shirt that I wore, it would ruin my night. Like, oh, I can't believe this dude got my shit on.
For real.
Right? So we come from out of a space where it was hide and go seek with regards to culture. You had to find it, you had to bring it back, you had to flaunt it, you would pass, you would fail, but that was like, we were on the ground creating it, and so that's what you were doing. There's this homogenization now. In 1988, 89, 90, people in Brooklyn dressed totally different from people in the Bronx. I remember when I got on the Vasquez, the boots. Nobody in Brooklyn was rocking Vasquez because people in the Bronx rock differently. Now the entire nation is homogenized. Everybody wears the same stuff.
That's true.
Right? So what we did was iconic, and so it only makes sense that people would draw back on that when they want to be creative.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for breaking that down.
Anybody ever talk to you about your work? Like, you ever get, like, people who want you to be their mentor?
I did a lecture at a university, which was very, very rewarding for me. This opportunity today means a lot to me because, like I said, I feel that what's happening here at Hip Hop Closet is so authentic. So I feel really honored and blessed to have to be a part of telling my story here. Mm-hmm. I have had other offers, but I haven't felt them. Mm-hmm. I'm very introvert and not I've never walked on the red carpet, even though I've dressed so many people for the red carpet. So when the red carpet thing started taking over everything, and the stylist started to become the celebrity, like, for me, I've had a hard time with that. Mm-hmm. I used to go dressed up, purposely disheveled, so that when I would show up, the artist would feel like, great, she's really working so hard for me. It works for me. I made a lot of money doing that.
Right.
So now that I see stylists showing up intimidating their artist, I think if that's the world we're living in, that's great, and that works for them. So for me, this is definitely like I did do a shooting for V Magazine, but that was for my artwork that I'm doing now. And so that was even hard for me to expose myself like that. But I want the art to do well. So I do photographs of my dolls, and
I want to talk about this.
So I did that V Magazine shoot to promote the art, Robin Newland artist.
Right.
So that was a blessing too. So that was a big thing for me to come out and today. So I haven't really, I haven't been like in that realm. But I feel like, you know, from becoming friends with Kaisha and watching her do her things, and her calling
She's
me from
amazing.
time to time
Yeah,
to
she's
ask
dope.
me what I think about things and making me feel a part of her success. It inspires me. And then me asking her to come here, and once again she said yes. So I feel like could be the beginning for me to especially talking to you and you helping me to realize how important my work is to the hip hop community. It helps me to solidify the purpose of wanting to be a part of coming out and mentoring others. And for me, being a role model for my family is a big deal for me. That's like the highest thing that I can obtain in my existence. And so I'm proud to be that person, to be that role model.
How has the digital age affected or adjusted your work?
I love the digital age. Like from being, once again, I go back to Andy Warhol. Andy was so far ahead of himself when we would discuss art and talk about the future of art. All of the stuff that's happening now, he used to walk around with this point and shoot camera, which could take a photograph at a 1/10 of a second, which Leica, which of course I have yet to be able to buy, but it's on my bucket list. But now with the iPhone camera, it does the same technology that his thing did way
But not
back
as
then.
fast, though. You think?
It does actually.
It does.
Yeah, it does. You can click just as fast with it. And they have different apps and things that you can use to if that's what you want to do, like a side hip shot. So the technology that we're living in today has caught up with what he would talk about for the future. So to be able to, like, okay, when I did my first art show, I took a Polaroid of myself that was from the 80s of me as a doll, and the shot is called Barbie Doll. I took the shot and had it blown up to so huge. And when I went to the lab to have it done, they were like, wow, it's incredible that you are here now. We just got the technology to blow this Polaroid up to 6 feet. And we didn't have it before this day. And I said, this is crazy that this is the day that I decided to have my art show and to do this and use this technology now. So it's amazing. I mean, it's like to be alive now with all of this digital technology going on. It's incredible.
I just want to ask you so many questions. I want to get to the dolls, but let me just ask you this.
There's a question.
Like, it's just so much I want to talk to you about. So I love Jean-Michel Basquiat. I have Black Caesar hanging in my house right now.
So that's
It's a print. I can't afford.
Well, yeah, well, that's
right?
Whatever you have.
Right, but I have
whatever.
Black Caesar.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's dope.
Tell me what it's like to have been friends with Basquiat. Like, what type of guy was he?
Wow, you know, he's not here to speak for himself.
Yeah.
So like, it'll be my honor to speak on his behalf. Like, yo, for real. Well, let me see. Jean was the type of guy that when I would run into him, he would be like, yo, you know, you just really here for my money. Like, you know, I know you just here for my money. I know you ain't really here for me. He said, I can see it in your face and your eyes. You want that money.
You want that
I'm like,
paper.
get out of here, Jean, you know.
Right.
But what was interesting was I was interning at an art gallery called Art and Industry on West Broadway. At the same time, he was with Mary Boone. So I'd be like outside, you know, sweeping the ground or whatever, getting ready for the gallery to open, and he'd be walking down the block with some executives with this like art briefcase, trying to look all dressy. And I'd be like, yo, what's good? My man from the hood, like, you know what time it is. You know, I see you trying to get money, but look at, he's like, no, not right now.
Right, you bugging.
Can't you see, they're Japanese,
Right.
Can't you see I'm trying to do business here?
Right.
Like, yo, get out of here. You ain't nothing but a chump from uptown. Get out of here, yo. Get out of here with that, yo. And he was like, yo, so then I'd be at the gallery, you know, trying to look all prim and proper. Couldn't even really speak English back then. You know, like, you know, this is a sign, the number, the limited edition. He would walk in and be like, yeah, right. You got some fried chicken over there. Get over. I said, not right now, John. This is not the time. He's like, you know, you from uptown. You's a hood rat. Get over here. You ain't no real, you know.
Right.
So we would always get each other like that. But deep down, Jean was the type of guy that a lot of people like this whole hip hop thing for him. He'd be so honored that they're feeling him because back in the day, a lot of graffiti artists didn't feel that Jean could tag.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he had this little samo, so people
right.
would put him down, you know. You had like all the dudes that could really tag, you know, and they'd be like, he's not a real artist, you know, like what's good, you know. So he took that like really to heart because he really could not tag.
Right.
So, you know, that was an issue for him. And then so when he started doing his art and he started blowing up with it, then he had some other, like the graffiti artists started to play hate him a little bit. But he was still humble about it, you know. And a lot of, like myself, I didn't really believe in Jean's work, but I loved Jean. So, you know, a lot of times I'd like go to his studio and I'd be like, Jean, like, what is this? Like, they're paying you for this?
Yo, that's a very authentic thing to say.
I would be like, what
love
is
somebody, but not love or believe in their work. That's a very authentic thing to say.
I wasn't feeling it. I'd be like, yo, you got money, we're going to Mr. Child, we're drinking the Cristal, that's good, it's popping, but that, like, he would get really mad.
Right.
You know, he'd get upset about it. He's like, yo, Robin, because he really wanted me to, like, get into his work. I mean, there
Right.
was a series that he did do. He went to the Kimberleys in Australia, which is a very special place out there. And he came back with this magical series that was incredible. I have to give it up.
Right.
And it was like these moving eyes, and it was like, whoa. And I was blown away by it, but of course I didn't tell him. You know what I'm saying? But I was just like, okay, this is kind of cool, dude. But then one day he said to me, he was like, yo, you know, Robin, you know, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you, you know? And I kind of took it to heart because he was like my big brother. Like, I would be like, he really wants me to like this crap, yo. But, you know, I could feel what he's saying, you know? And so it just sunk in me.
Right.
So then, you know, upon his death, and then me being placed in the position of having clients and being under that stress, and, you know, of me needing to make a decision, and like I was working on That's So Raven, and I had this assistant who wanted to get in my head to understand how the Holy Spirit was working on me, and you can't describe that. So I was like, you know, all of a sudden Jean popped in my head, like, yo, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. So I was able to carry that with me and live through it, like, you know, like, and understand the feeling of, so what, if you're not feeling my work, I don't really care. I'm going to go home and paint even more, which is what he would do. So he had the whole world not feeling him, and did he care? No, he continued to paint. He continued to paint. He would get upset, he'd be mad at us, we'd have a fight. I'm going home to paint. That's how I'm going to take it out on you. And whatever, so, you know, with all his body of work now, like to this day now, like he wanted to do my portrait, you know, he did my friend Michael Patterson's portrait, and he paid him a lot of money or whatever, but Michael really needed the money, you know, so, and Michael told me how much he got, and I was like, what? Word, Jean gave money, like, he gave him like 20,000.
He gave him 20,000
cash.
in his portrait?
Yeah, right. So I was like, yo, like, I want some of that. So Jean, so he's
She
like,
said, I want some of that.
So Jean's like, yo,
That's that.
I want to paint your portrait. I was like, yo, so how much are you going to pay me?
Right.
He's like,
I'm not paying you
pay
nothing.
you?
Right.
He's like, pay you to pay. He says, I'm going to steal your portrait. He's like, he was so mad at me that day. He said, I'm going to steal your portrait. I was like, oh, word, it's like that? You know, but I didn't realize that he was such a deep guy that Michael was living in this building that was like, it didn't have walls, didn't have windows, so he was giving him the money so that he could make the place more livable.
Right.
It wasn't that he was giving Michael
For
all
the
of his
portrait.
money.
Right. He
It
was
that
being
Michael,
benevolent.
right. So I was too young to
understand.
understand that at the time, you know. So, you know, but I do regret not having him paint my portrait, even though I did not like his work at the time, and it wasn't like I was going to sweat him anyway.
Right.
But you know, it was, that portrait I think is a thing that really separated him and made his art world a little bit harder, you know, because he was the lady that the gallery owner at the time wasn't feeling the portrait because it was too different from his regular stuff, and he took that really to heart. You know, Jean was very proud of this portrait because he really had a hard time painting big, so he would do a lot of little things and then put them together to make a big thing.
Right.
So this was a big thing
King's
that he
Pleasure
did.
showed that. Did you see King's
Oh,
Pleasure?
yes, I did.
King's
That-
Pleasure
yeah.
proved that. Like, it's
Yeah.
a lot of little things that kind of, right.
See, I don't want to give away a secret because, I can't,
Right.
because I spent a lot of time with him and I don't want to give the
No,
artist-
as you should.
the artist
Right.
a secret, but
Right.
it was his spending so much personal time with him.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, my mom would give me $20 a week, and I actually would pay for his Xeroxes at one time. Yeah, because we'd go down to this place called Penny Whistle in Soho, and they had the first color Xerox machine by Canon. And I think they were 10 cents or 25 cents a copy, and I'd wait outside, and he'd give me $5. I said, well, I got $20, give me 10 of that. And I was like, all right, he'd be in there for hours, come on with a stack of Xerox. It's like in the shop, I was, what are you gonna do with all of that? Don't worry about it. I'm like, you got my money though. Don't worry about it.
Jean-Michel was bullying you. Let me.
Don't worry about it. And then I go and I see the same stuff that I paid for Xerox done in this gallery somewhere for like $90 million.
Right.
I'm thinking that was like $5 I gave him for these. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
these are real true stories like about Jean.
Before
for
we
real.
go, I need to talk to you about the dolls. Because like I said, your IG, when I knew I was going to interview, I went to your IG page. Normally when you go to people's IG page, you see whatever party they was at that weekend, whatever work they're doing, right? Promotion, right? I go to your page, I don't see none of that.
But dolls.
I see dolls, right? I see dolls. There's one picture of you with a male doll. You're smiling. I'm like, yo, what's good? Like, tell me about dolls.
Well, there's a doll documentary on me called Girls and Dolls.
Yes, that's the picture. That's the thing that I saw on your page. I saw that. There's a documentary
that Gina De Niro did.
Yeah.
It was in the channel 13 aired it during like Black History Month. I was very proud of it. So the dolls, they pretty much, like I was saying, they're a form of escapism. They started out that way, and then they because I ended up using them like when I was going to art school. I could use them in a skill to make furniture for them, so they were very helpful then. Now I like to create doll environments, and then it gives me the full control of styling them and creating the whole look for the dolls. And it's great because it's like I don't have anyone to talk back to me, or I don't have to feel like, oh, I'm not styling, I don't have a client. Because when you have worked with so many people and then suddenly either you're not doing it or you're doing something else, you subconsciously, you really always still want to be a part of it. So
This is your ability.
so if I really want to still have that feeling, I don't have to worry, oh, well, this client's not calling me anymore, or I'm not working on this network or whatever. I can just go home and say, oh my God, I'm going to create this whole doll environment. And it takes forever and it takes so much time and it's so expensive, but it's something that I just love.
How many dolls do you have right now?
I'd say maybe 5,000.
5,000 dolls? You have an entire city. You have Bedford-Stuyvesant.
I didn't even open some of the boxes.
Maybe about. I think it's about.
Where do you get them from?
Well, I've been collecting.
Like my daughter has Barbies, right? But where do you get your dolls from?
I do a lot of eBay shopping, which is a bad habit. But the thing about eBay, which is good, is you could think of a doll, say, oh, I want to buy like a 1950s Ken doll that's a clone.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, you have to know about all these dolls.
Yeah, you got to know the industry, right?
To want to have the desire to then go and find this doll. And then there's certain dolls that I still, to this day, I don't know if I'll ever get them in my lifetime.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, there's right now it's the Apollo Creed doll that came out that's about 14 inches. I do have the Rocky Balboa, he's about 12 inches. And then I have the Russian guy at the
Drago.
I have him at the 14 inches. You know how much money that doll is worth right now?
How much money is it worth?
About $8,000. And I paid maybe $200 for him. He's worth $8,000.
Wow. When did you buy it for $200?
When that movie came out.
35 years ago. I mess with you.
Yeah, when the movie
35
came
years
out.
ago, right.
So yeah, but of course I don't have him in the box. So I still have the box though.
Right.
So I would never sell it. But I'd probably get about 4 G's for that.
Right.
The most expensive doll that I used to have was the Steve McQueen doll made out of Japan. in the box. He's still in the box, and he was about 800 when I got him. So, so most of them are like collectors. Like I have like the GI Joe Kung Fu Grip.
I had a lot of GI Joes, and I was going to talk to you about that too, because like I remember, like I used to collect GI Joes as a kid, and I would like position them a certain way, and I would have like a war in my bedroom, right? So Flint, Duke, Snake Eyes, they all around, and I would have a war with them, and I would just leave them there. So again, like there was a kind of a connectivity when I saw this. Like obviously, I have 2 children. They have dolls, but I don't have any dolls now. But it was intriguing. Let me just say that. To know that you was, I
never let them go. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel bad because I really need like an art studio. So I'm praying that in my lifetime I'll get one.
Yeah. You'll get
So
it.
yeah, I definitely need an art studio. But my big fantasy is to do like an installation in like a museum in Berlin, where it would take a good couple of years to put the installation together. You know.
Why would that be? That's a wild dream. Your dream, you just said your dream is to do an installation that's going to take a couple of years to finish in Berlin.
In Berlin. I lived in Berlin.
So specific.
Right, like that's a wild dream.
Yeah, that's where my head's at. Like, you
That's
know.
awesome. I really love your mind. I do. Like I love geniuses. Like you're amazing. Your mind is. I didn't know, Kai. I didn't know. I didn't know we was gonna have this conversation. Yeah, I didn't know. What's a yes?
I mean, but I've talked to Robin so many times.
I didn't know. But
and
I
I do say no to people, Robin.
I know you do. I know, but you know, I'm saying in the
I
right
felt
moment.
something. Yeah,
that's
I
what
felt
mean.
a connection with you when you called.
Where do you live now? Don't give us your
Well, I'm
address.
not going to. I just have to say that I have $5,000.
Right, just tell me the state.
I didn't want nobody to know where I live. I was hiding that out even before. You know, I was like, oh wow, she got $5,000. No, but I reside in Harlem still. I'm still highly favored to still. I can't leave Harlem. Like Harlem to me is like. I mean, even with the gentrification,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little bit better because at least
crazy.
at the
You on
bus
west side
stop,
or east side?
I'm on the west side.
Okay.
At least
How close to Melbourne?
Listen, he's trying to narrow it.
I'm on Adelaide Powell Jr. Boulevard.
And what?
No.
I'm coming through.
Long Boulevard, near the park.
Yeah, okay,
Walking
that's all right. You ain't gotta tell me no more. Okay.
Like
All right.
the real fly architecture.
Yes.
Like my building could have been done by the Met guy. I love architecture.
Okay.
So Harlem is like just walking around Harlem. I just taking pictures of every little thing,
Right.
the lions, the
Right.
everything.
Right.
It's just, and also what's nice now is you have at the bus stops, you have like, if it's raining, you got a seat. We didn't have that before the gentrification.
You still take the bus?
No, I use a scooter. But,
I use the scooter too. I do Rebel all the time.
But sometimes it's nice to just have, like, I just sit there and chill.
Right.
That's like an outside bench, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's kind of nice.
Last question.
I have a question.
Last question before we get to you. Do you ever sit back and marvel at your contribution to the culture, to hip hop culture, to black culture, to popular culture? Like, do you ever have a moment where you sit back and you kind of rest on your laurels and you say, wow, like, I did that shit?
What I do sometimes is I created this page on Facebook where I can just keep reposting things to remind myself that this was something that I did. And then I'll just like look back at it and think, wow, that was a great day, and and so like in that way, I look at it like that, like I just to keep reminding myself, like, oh, I did Apache, oh, I did this, oh, I did that.
You did Gangsta Bitch?
Yeah, I did Gangsta Bitch, and
I'm not talking to you after
and
this.
so that was fun.
done.
So like, and I was in London one time when I dressed up like a Gangsta Bitch. And I was way out there, right? And I had on the outfit. I just had on the wig. I just
hoodie,
do it, right?
wig.
And I was running around in London, like whatever. And so someone's like, "Oh, you're a gangster bitch." And I was like, "Whoa, how did she know?"
How did she know?
So it felt so good, like
Right.
so. I mean, like for me, I have a dream of writing a book, and I feel
You
like
should. You have to.
yeah, I feel like God
You're a treasure. Like, you're a cultural treasure. You understand what I'm saying? Like, just in this hour and a half, the conversations that we have been like moving to the point of understanding that you're a treasure.
Wow, that means a lot.
You're a
to me,
treasure.
that
You got to write a book.
Yeah, that's my big dream, to write a book.
Yeah, you got to write a book.
To put, to try to just, because I feel like a lot of people
You're late. He's late. He's late.
never.
Yeah.
A lot of people come out and like want to take credit for my work, which has happened a lot. I don't want to name names.
Name one.
And you know, like someone tried to take credit for my hip hop Mac Daddy Mac Make You Want to Jump crisscross video, and it really upset my mother because it was a proud day for her on Wall Street when it came out.
Nice.
So, you know, like, for me, I feel like I would like to write the book just, not to, like, to put down the people that are taking credit for my work.
Right, yeah, we don't go low, we go high, like Michelle Obama, right? So
yeah,
it's
right.
about your story, not their
Right,
story.
yeah, it's not about, like, I mean, I just look at it and was able to get them licensing deals or whatever and bless them in a more highly favored way, and I think that's great because that's the timing for them.
Right.
But I feel like when I write the book, it would be more to be able to make sure that people understand that these looks, they don't come from me. They come from the streets. It comes from the actual culture of, you know, the lifestyle of hip hop.
Right.
And I think that's an important story for people to understand, opposed to trying to say, going on the red carpet and saying, oh, I'm responsible for this.
Right.
Where in fact, you were a part of it. And yes, you may have made a lot of the creative decisions.
But you were a conduit from the streets through you to the artists.
Right, and I feel like this is an important part of that story and that message. I would like to be able to make sure that never gets lost in the sauce.
Gotcha.
And that's what I like about, once again, what's happening here. It keeps an authenticity to hip hop.
Because we realize we're just conduits. Like we realize the work is really about translation. And not manipulation, but really translating the culture into spaces where people can understand. Go on, Kai.
The real K-Joy, she asked, what has been the best advice you've received navigating the various creative spaces?
Can you just repeat that one more time, please?
Right, because I did read it a few times. What has been the best advice that you have received while navigating through your various creative spaces, like, you know, all the different things that you've done?
Well, I've been blessed enough to be friends with this woman by the name of Peggy Dillard, who was one of the first fashion models to appear on like the covers of American Vogue and Glamour. She's like my big sister, and she was feeling like, Robin, you should you know, take, you know, ownership of your work. Doesn't matter if it was way back or whatever. It's an important part of history. And I think through my conversations with Peggy Dillard, who's had the experience of being, you know, out there in the limelight and regaining her legacy, has been a good mentor for me to be able to sit back and subconsciously think about my own endeavors, and then to be able to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to put this out there and let people know that I'm responsible for this. And so I do thank Peggy for that advice, because I don't think I would have understood how to take that leap. But through recognizing her successes and her history, I could relate it to my own. Even though they're different careers and different times, but we're both women of color and have had a contribution to fashion, whether it's hip hop or high fashion. I hope that answers your question.
Real quick, Mom, I got a question.
For
2
me?
sentences, yeah, for you.
Ooh.
At what point did you realize that Robin had genius tendencies? Like, at what point did you was like, yo, that, because I got children. I got 3 children. I got 2 grandchildren. I know who the smartest child is. I know who the dumbest child is, right? Real talk. At what point was you like, yo, she got it?
The day she was born.
Go ahead and talk that, Mom. Go ahead and talk
The
that.
day she was born, I knew I was given a gift.
Right.
Gift of Robin Newland.
Uh-huh.
Robin has a heart that's bigger than the world. She give you her last.
Uh-huh.
She will help any downtrodden person.
Uh-huh.
And she is not selfish with nothing she do. God has blessed her far beyond her worth of the world's worth. And I am so blessed. But I knew she was different when she went to high school putting safety pins in her clothes, looking crazy.
Looking wild, right?
Looking crazy, going to the thrift stops, sneaking out the house, coming with Richard Alvarez.
Right.
Wait, come show,
Right.
come.
Nah, Mom, you gotta come because you just,
Put your phone
yeah,
down.
because your style is just so. Look at Mom. Look at Mom. Look at Mom. Look at Mom. You know what I'm saying? Look at Mom.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank
you.
I feel so. I'll be honest with y'all. Like I was running around today. I was doing a lot of stuff today, right? Work stuff, other stuff, and so I came here really not knowing what to expect. But like you said about fear, right, and how it's okay to feel it. Like I've come to grips with that. Like I'm fine with fear. I'm fine with nervousness. I'm fine with anxiety because I know that if I feel it, that I'm about to do something that is meaningful, right? And so I knew that coming in, I don't write questions. You don't see me writing anything or reading from anything. But I knew that I would find a connective point with you. Then I come in and you got a Basquiat hoodie on. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Mom Duke's got the polo on. I'm like, all right, I feel comfortable. I love having talk with you. I love just listening to you. You are a wealth of information. Like I said, you're a treasure. And it's very important that you chronicle this story. Like, you're dope. You have to, look, when an elder passes away, we lose a library, right? Both my grandmothers were very influential in telling me stories about a time before. They gave me the thread of before so that I would have it growing up. It's the same with you. Like, we cannot let your story just exist in the ether and when you leave, it's gone. You owe it to yourself and to this culture to chronicle this. And I'm glad that you did this. This is dope, right? So this is an opportunity for you to kind of see how your story has impacted the space. But man, Robin, Kai, I didn't know. This was amazing. This was an amazing interview.
Really was.
This was an amazing interview. I appreciate
Thank you,
you.
Robin.
Thank you
I
guys
appreciate you
much.
so much for believing in Hip Hop Closet. You know, that's amazing to me. Right?
Big time.
Questions, comments?
Nope,
What we got?
everything. No more questions or comments.
All right, Jay, you want to show your sneakers before we go?
Oh yeah.
So these are not ones, these are dunks?
These are dunks.
Okay.
So y'all.
Kyle, what you got on? Ones or dunks?
Mess runs the world. Custom 101s. You run a marathon. You crush
What's that,
it.
velvet? You got velvet on the side?
Yeah, it's crushed velvet.
I got Chanel on the side of mine.
Okay, you got Chanel. Why y'all trying to out sneaker me today?
No.
Look, but y'all ain't got the socks that I got. Look at my socks. Look at this.
wow.
EPMD, Wu-Tang,
Where'd
Public
you get them
Enemy.
from?
I don't know where I got them from.
Spain?
Nah, I ain't never been to Spain. She's like, no, you're from Spain. I ain't messing with you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't get them from Spain. I probably got them from like Target, but not Spain.
He's not having that.
Not Spain. This is great. I want to thank y'all. You know, I know we started an hour later today. I appreciate those of you who ride with us week in, week out, and kind of get this wisdom, get this vibration. Kai, I feel good. We good. We in a good space.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna log off because I'm about to my battery.
Yeah, I gotta actually get on the 9:30 call. So
Thank
look,
you so
we'll
much
see
for
you
joining.
next
Yes,
Tuesday
next
at
week.
Conversations in Hip Hop Closet. Peace and love.
Peace. Thanks, Robin.